Good morning, everyone. Talent attraction and retention, it's a long-standing concern for businesses and communities like yourselves in Northern Ontario, and a priority under the Government of Canada, and more particularly under Northern Ontario Prosperity and Growth Strategy for Northern Ontario. According to the statistics, the 2022 Ontario Economic Report and the Ontario Chamber of Commerce report, over half of Ontario businesses are confronting labor shortages now and expect this to be a long-term problem. So meeting the region's workforce needs requires, for FedNor, for Northern Ontario to support local and regional workforce development, attracting skilled and highly qualified newcomers, and then building community capacity to facilitate their integration and retention. So stakeholders are increasingly looking to FedNor for support and for partnering opportunities. So today I want to talk about one initiative in particular that we have supported both through advocacy with other federal government departments, in this case IRCC, and also by funding specific communities to deliver the results. So if we can move to slide 2. So what I want to talk to you about today is immigration, refugees and citizens of Canada, and the Northern Immigration Pilot. So the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot, which you've probably heard a little bit about, but I'm going to share some of the results for Northern Ontario. So the RNIP, for those of you who don't know, is a community-driven program designed to spread the benefits of economic immigration to smaller communities by creating a path to permanent residence for skilled foreign workers who want to work and live in one of the participating communities. Eligible communities from across Canada applied to take part in the pilot. And as you know, 5 communities were successful for Northern Ontario. We had lobbied for all of Northern Ontario, but we were lucky we got 5 of 11 as part of the pilot. So despite COVID-19 setbacks, the results of the program have been overwhelmingly positive. If we go to the next slide, please. So the pilot was launched as a 3-year pilot. It aligns with the prosperity and growth strategy for Northern Ontario. So I mentioned this a little bit earlier. For the capacity of communities to be able to welcome newcomers, the integration and attraction and the retention with the outcomes of increased skilled workers and the communities. So as Canada's workforce ages, and Northern Ontario specifically, immigration can ensure the Canadian economy continues to grow, that we attract more talent and investment capital, and so on. While immigration levels have overall decreased in Ontario, from 2021, Northern Ontario saw a 6% increase yearly in the number of immigrants. Yet, according to the data recently compiled by the Northern Policy Institute, unless the region is successful in attracting more immigrants to Northern Ontario, the ratio of working population to dependents is projected to decline sharply, much more so than in other parts of the province. So immigration in general is viewed positively by Northerners, especially when we're situating it as part of a 2-pronged approach to talent attraction and retention. So we're supporting immigration balanced with support to workforce development and reskilling of the regional population in an effort to meet employer recruitment needs. So taking advantage, for example, of a significant and growing Indigenous youth population in the region will also help to address key current and projected labor shortfalls. So early census 2021 analysis indicates a population of 10% or more over the last 5 years in pockets of Northern Ontario's rural and remote First Nation communities. So if we can go, to the next slide, please. So as of the results, so as of April 30th, 2022, the Northern Ontario RNIP projects, so we funded 5 projects throughout Northern Ontario with 5 communities through FedNor, and these are tracking of the results from those, so have resulted in 325 applications for permanent residency being processed by IRCC. And these 325 cases represent 420 persons admitted into the region. So the breakdowns: 120 in Thunder Bay, 105 in Sault Ste. Marie, 95 in Timmins, 55 in North Bay, and 45 in Sudbury. So although the numbers may not seem large when you're looking at them independently, it is quite a significant number of people coming through, considering the challenges that we've had with COVID and people sort of moving into the region during that economic sort of situation or health turmoil that we've had. So FedNor, and when I say 325 cases and then 420 persons admitted, so the participating communities, they receive an allocation for recommendations. So the number of allocations varies by year and by community, with the pilot allowing for a total number of 2,750 per year for all of the communities combined. But that doesn't include their families. So if you have the one application, it counts as one plus the families that they bring along. So it's helpful that you can get a skilled worker to come to Canada, more specifically Northern Ontario, and they're bringing along a family to be able to support also other needs that they may have and that we may have in that region. So continue, please. Oh, I think I missed a slide. So the next step. So I know that communities are looking to expand their geographical boundaries, and they have requested this from IRCC. It seems like it's a positive outlook for this. There's also consideration being given to extend the program. So we've lobbied for both of those parts. So to extend the program and also to increase the communities. So I know that a lot of the communities were very disappointed when this didn't go broader than with the 5 major communities. So I think it's been a bit of a challenge in order to be able to support the smaller, more out rural, what we consider the more rural communities. And I guess what I want to say is I don't think that the immigration or the RNIP will extend right through to Northern Ontario, even if with this latest iteration. We are trying to lobby for it to be, maybe lobby is not the right word, but to work with IRCC in order to make it a more permanent initiative in Northern Ontario, but also looking at a variety of other streams that may be available to smaller rural communities. Immigration and francophone, so maybe talk about that. The francophone in some areas is core, to that region, and there needs to be an adequate supply of workers to provide services in French also in the coming years. So there's a separate federal initiative that it's called Welcome Francophone Communities. There was 14 selected across Canada, including Sudbury from Northern Ontario, to welcome and support French-speaking newcomers in their new community. It began in 2020 and it will continue over 3 years. So we will continue, and that's just one of the pathways. If we start looking, more closely into different immigration pathways and newcomers, and students, international students, and working with post-secondary institutions, there's all kinds of ways that we can support this growth throughout Northern Ontario, and then we'll be looking for different avenues in order to support you and then to support the businesses in Northern Ontario as well. So I'll leave it at that, and if anyone has any questions, open to respond.
Just want to make sure that I'm not keeping anybody waiting to get in. No, okay, we're good. So a question actually that I'd had earlier, you answered one of them, was, or a question that I had earlier that was given to me earlier. You answered one was that in regards to the pilot project on immigration, the fact that it was focused just in the five large centers, and they had a small geographic footprint around it. So the question is that is there anything organizations like FONOM and NOMA and AFMO can do to lobby so that it would go into all of Northern Ontario?
Yeah, so I think that the more communication that we have with IRCC and other government departments in indicating how this could be of support to more communities in Northern Ontario, but more specifically, the results. The reason that it didn't go right across Northern Ontario initially, from the viewpoint of IRCC, was that what they were trying to do was build a pilot that would be kind of a hug, right? So they wanted a small region in order to be able to say, okay, this is what we need. The partnership in with the economic development corporations, and then the partnership with the community, and also including like post-secondary institutions and all the player settlement services that were in there, so that when the immigrants came to the community, it was a hug, right? So it was a small group that would be able to encompass them. So now that they have that, the model developed and the pilot has been working, now they're working their way out and saying, okay, now instead of having a 40-kilometer radius to the city, we're looking at broadening it out. And each of the communities have requested both financial support from FedNor to support an extension of the program, but also to IRCC to extend the program to a longer term, and to go out more broadly within their communities. So my understanding is that Thunder Bay, for instance, is asking to go to Rainy River. I don't have all the details of how far they've asked to move out, but there was a definite request to incorporate, more communities. And what I understand is that it's being received positively, given the results that we've had in Northern Ontario.
Okay. The next question is, and it came from actually your slide deck. You showed that Sudbury, that's Sault Ste. Marie and Thunder Bay have their numbers are higher than the other three communities in Northern Ontario. That is the focus of the pilot. Is there anything that those communities could be doing better to make their communities more attractive to immigrants from other countries?
Yeah, I think what happened, and the reason Thunder Bay and Sault Ste. Marie have such strong results is they were ahead, in the setup or in their infrastructure, sort of the coordination piece of it, before the pilot started, right? So they already had, for instance, a coordinator in place. They already had, a website ready. They had all of these pieces that were already, ready, whereas some of the other communities, had to hire a coordinator to come in and work, and had to sort of set up the infrastructure or the capacity, or build the capacity in order to be able to start delivering on it. So I don't think that it's really related to the community itself in this first round. I think it was more about, starting up and getting the community sort of the process in place in order to be able to meet that. Having said that, Sault Ste. Marie, has a variety of different immigration setups, like they do for entrepreneurs coming in, like they have different things. So they have invested more people, I think is more the question here. Because if you were to compare the communities, like the communities each have their best assets, but each have, the same issues that Basil was talking about earlier around, the challenges around weather, the challenges around having, small immigrant communities in order to support them through their development.
So are there other organizations like that, Basil's, that we should, communities in Northern Ontario should be aware of, and that either get the supports from FedNor or other agencies, so that a community that's outside of the pilot project is able to have access to programs and get some assistance to fill some of the job challenges that they're facing in their communities?
Yeah, so other things that we've been working on are, matchmaker projects, the supporting the development of a population growth strategy with NPI and those conferences that you've seen of late. But in general, I think a big part of this is awareness of what is already out there. So we've had some initial discussions, several with IRCC, about being more present in our region in order to be able to share, what is available for people who don't, it's complicated when you start talking immigration. It really is complicated. But we've also starting to partner with the CFDC, so the Community Future Development Corporations, in providing them awareness sessions on, what's out there, working with the province, working with the federal, IRCC, having presentations like Basil's to them as well, in order to be able to just grow, everybody's knowledge around this topic, so that we can attract and find out who those other companies are, like the one that Basil represents, in order to do that, to advance our cause in the smaller rural Northern Ontario communities. So it's a definite priority for FedNor, and we're going to continue that advocacy until we have, results in all of our communities in Northern Ontario.
So what else is FedNor doing outside of the two projects that you talked about this morning, that might be something that communities in Northern Ontario may have forgotten that you were involved with?
So are you talking in regards to immigration or talent attraction and retention?
Well, I was going to open it up to all of the programs, because the FONOM has been fortunate through some of the programs that FedNor has to get some funding over the years. As an example, our Go North project that has the videos have been seen all or in part nearly 500,000 times, is greatly supported by FedNor, both in the first round, and we're working on the projects for the next one. But are there can you just kind of maybe walk some of the people that are on this on the call today that may not be fully involved in some of the different projects opportunities that they have, that FedNor has to help fund communities?
Yeah, absolutely. So our core program is the Northern Ontario Development Program. So that's about, helping communities become, diversify and be more sustainable in the long term. So that's a very flexible program in what we can do. So we can do support planning efforts. We can support development of industrial parks. We can support different efforts around, like the pilot, like we just talked about for immigration. So establishing the capacity in order to be able to deliver, on a workforce initiative. We can work also with workforce development. So there's all kinds of things. We do support to some extent, the development, a little bit of marketing, not too much, because marketing can be really tricky in itself, but sort of the development of the digital components of a community in order to be able to market themselves better, that type of initiative would be supported as well. So it's a very big, wide gamut. We expect the communities to have, a plan in place, to have their priorities already established. And if they don't, we can support, the plan itself. But in order to be able to, come forward and say, look, this is where we are in a community, this is where we are at from a diversification perspective, and this is what we need, and can you help us with that? So we have officers across Northern Ontario on the ground, very knowledgeable people that are ready to take your phone call and to have that discussion. And if we can't help, through that program or through any of our other programs, so we have a series of temporary programs that we're offering right now based on, recovery efforts from COVID. So we have a tourism relief fund, we have a jobs and growth fund. Unfortunately, both of those programs are closed given the amount of demand that we had on the programs. And moving forward, we do have a program called the Aerospace Initiative, Regional Aerospace Initiative, that is still open. So in regards to helping to strengthen, the aerospace sector. So we have had some demand from some of the communities coming in and to help support, in partnership businesses that are in that field, or maybe an air park that has support for businesses that are operating in that sector and doing that. So it's a little bit new sector for us in Northern Ontario, so we're working through it, but we do have that program available as well. In the last 2 years, so our regular core programming runs around 60 million per year, which includes the 4 programs: the Northern Ontario Development Program. We have an Economic Development Initiative, which is a Francophone community program. And then we also have the Regional Innovation and Growth program, which is more targeted to innovation ecosystem and as well as, private sector innovation growth. And then we have the Community Development Futures program, which supports 24 community futures development corporations across Northern Ontario in the operations for them to either provide, business support to businesses or also access to capital in their friends. So those are our 4 core programs that run around 60 million total per year. In the last 2 years, we've delivered roughly 130 million. If you're include all of the temporary programs that were launched around the health crisis. So we had a program which was, the Regional Recovery Fund, and then we had the Tourism Fund. Like, we've had several different ones. Most of them are closed now, so we only have a couple left in order to finish that, and then we'll be moving on to or continuing to develop our core programming and offer that.
Well, Lucie, as the Executive Director of FONOM, I've had to fill out some of your applications. And the first couple, I was overwhelmed, but I can tell you that, and I can just imagine what a small business owner would face by looking at them. But I can tell you and tell everyone on the call that your staff are excellent. They walk a dummy like me through these applications, and they've been very helpful. And they send you little reminders. We're looking for, I actually got one today. Where's this? Where's that? We'd like to get this off my desk. So your team are excellent. And I just know that they've helped me fill out these applications. So I know that they're helping a small business, they're helping communities that are applying for some of the programs that you have to offer. So your team do an excellent job. So it's just great that you're there, and that you guys have been able to assemble a really good organization that's there to help the members and help the business owners.
Maybe I'll close by saying that, it's a bit of a challenge to balance sort of the support that and the simplicity that would be nice to have, when you're doing applications with the increasing demand for reporting and results sort of tracking, right? That's required sort of through the federal government in order to be able to kind of justify some of these initiatives as we're moving forward, and to prove that the money is well spent in areas that are well spent, right, for taxpayers' dollars. But I appreciate the vote of confidence in there. And we are working on simplifying where we can, and that includes the launch of we'll have a portal, a FedNor portal. It's not quite ready yet, but hopefully that's going to simplify the application process significantly. We've done some great strides on the approval timelines and our service standards, so we're just going to continue to keep working in order to serve you better.
Well, I can tell you, as a funeral director, and I've worked in the funeral industry for 38 years, when I started, a funeral contract was almost a handshake. Now it's a 4-page document in very small print. So the world has turned litigious, and rightfully so in some cases. So again, don't feel bad that it's scary the first time you open up some of the attachments that your team sends. So again, it might sound like I'm sucking up to you. I am, kind of, because you've given us a lot of money over the years. But the fact is that, as you say, in the last 2 years, over $160 million into Northern Ontario is a considerable amount of money. And we're again all glad that you're an independent agency. We wish everybody lived in and worked in Northern Ontario, but that's a side, just personal thing. The fact is that you are Northerners, and you are helping our communities greatly. So we do appreciate the time that you taking the time today and signing on at 7:30 to get prepared for this meeting. I really do appreciate you taking the time with us today, especially working from home.
Well, thank you for having me. And if you'll invite me again next time, maybe we can talk about our efforts with the Ring of Fire.
Well, now that you've given us a teaser, do you want to take 2 minutes?
to talk about. All I can say right now is that, you know, there's increasing activity in regards to the Ring of Fire. So something that we thought, you know, was going to take much longer to develop is actually, you know, developing quite nicely and moving forward, both in federal and provincial realms, and with organizations like businesses like, you know, Wailu that has purchased, you know, Noront. There's significant activity on the private sector front and the provincial front and the federal front, both in, you know, regional assessments, on roads, on investments into the regions, into the development of capacity, planning. NRCan received, I believe it was $3.8 billion in order to develop critical minerals, which incorporates, you know, the Ring of Fire. Earth development is a key component to the development of critical, or the extraction, if you will, of critical minerals, and then the value sort of added components that we're hoping to build throughout Northern Ontario through this cluster in order to support, you know, that development. So lots of activity to come, lots of activity happening. So keep your ears open on that, and get invested in it. Thanks.
Well, no, thank you.
By that, I don't mean invest in the company. I meant just get invested in the development.
Oh, that's great. Well, again, thanks for that teaser. I know I put you on the spot there, but we really do appreciate you taking the time to update us. Again, this video of your presentation will be spliced and put on YouTube, so that anybody that wasn't able to join us today, it'll be shared with our membership and shared with the membership of Northwestern Ontario as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay. So we'll maybe